Issues of corruption. Professor Oyebode, when the president said he wants to fight corruption, almost 2 years down the line, do you think there is a direction or there is a target that has been met in these few months?
It seems that the Buhari government is fighting the symptoms rather than the root cause of corruption. You see, corruption is systemic. In fact, we practice what one can call the crypto or proto-capitalist structure. And the political economy of corruption will show that the type of capitalism we're operating is a form of legalized robbery. And to that extent, you cannot wish corruption away except you change the political economy of Nigeria. And Nigerian leaders are afraid to take the plunge. So, but it makes good copy in the papers that you've recovered X and you've bust a particular repository of stolen funds and what have you. It's good to do that, but I think we have to really revise the options available before us. Corruption will just not go away if you cannot make it practically impossible. You made the cost so high that anybody who will go into that particular approach will have to pay a severe penalty. In China, it's execution by firing squad. I know there was a time President Jonathan distributed Lee Kuan Yew's book From Third World to First to his ministers because a country like Singapore has whittled down the amount of corruption. The same thing with Hong Kong. So it's not that we don't know what to do. We even have laws in the criminal code, in the penal code, against corruption. But in spite of that, we set up in 2002 at ICPC, the Code of Conduct Bureau. Then we had the EFCC. And look, it's taken how long now to confirm Muhammadu Magu as chairman of EFCC. So it doesn't seem as if there is a consistent, optimal, well-rounded anti-corruption struggle.
When you say that the change of the political economy in specifics, what exactly are you talking about?
Well, we have to do away with this buccaneer capitalism that we have, dog eat dog, okay? Because in this country, nobody asks serious questions. Once you make it, you make it. You build your house, nobody will ask how you got the funds. And there'll be a big housewarming ceremony. You're a success story. And your local people, they will celebrate you because you succeeded in liberating some of the excesses from the national wealth, which you cornered to put a house in the village. So look at what happened in Delta when one Onanofe Buhari came back. Look at the amount of euphoria that was exhibited. You remember what happened too when DSP Alamesia came back to this country? It doesn't seem as if there is sufficient will amongst our people to shun corrupt people, ostracize them, don't give them chieftaincy titles. They must prove the basis of their wealth. There's nothing wrong with being wealthy, okay? But the wealth must be surely earned.
There seems to be a moral breakdown also, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. The moral values in Nigeria have been subverted. And what we thought was unthinkable a few years ago are now routine. And we never had this scale of corruption. Why did we have kidnapping? Why do we have an epidemic of ritual murders? Why do we have armed robbery on a high scale? The people indulging in those vices want more money for themselves.
So, I mean, there must be some changes in the Nigerian constitution. You were at the national confab. You think that's a possible solution to the issue of corruption in Nigeria?
No, I don't think so. The proceedings of the national confab might have helped the recommendations. There's over 600 recommendations made to cure most of the ills of Nigeria. But corruption is a more incisive, fundamental issue. And internationally, there are conventions. The UN has a convention against corruption, 2003. We also have the African Union Convention against corruption. And we even have the OECD rules against corruption. The United States has laws against corruption abroad. So in fact, corruption is not something to be celebrated. And I was tickled when President Buhari, before he became president, in his campaign, said, if you don't stop corruption, corruption will stop us. Some of us have made such statements previously. But to have somebody of the profile of a presidential candidate to make it an article of faith, it means that this government, the incoming government, was dead serious. But as we all know, corruption too has the capacity and capability to fight back.
If there is one thing, Prof, that you will advise the government of the day to do now, you said they're just tackling the symptoms, not the disease itself. What would that be? If it's going to be an advisor, something they must move urgently on to tackle the issue of corruption.
You must increase the penalty for corrupt practices. Either you make it up to 30 years, you put people proving corrupt, put them in jail and throw away the keys. Nigeria might no longer be putting corrupt people behind drums and executing them in the bar beach. Maybe we've gone past that. But the sanctions are a mere slap on the wrists. I heard that properties confiscated by previous regimes, some of them have been handed over to the previous owner. So, and you could see the sort of thing that we're witnessing even in the judiciary. So if go Ross, what do you want Iron to do? So,
Professor Akin Oyebode, Professor of International Law and Jurisprudence, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts on the program. Always a pleasure having you right here on the program.
You're most welcome.
Thank you so much. We'll take a short break. But when we return, there's something that's perhaps troubling a lot of people who understand what politics should look like in Nigeria, and is the attitude of the Nigerian opposition party. It looks so much that the ruling party is coasting home without any pressure from nowhere. That's what we're going to be discussing when we return from this break. Join us again.